I'm actually very excited about this book. My world and my books are connected to children's literature, and that's been the basis of my teaching and the frame of my teaching. And I work with many student teachers in my job, and in workshops I visit teachers, and I'm always asked for books about certain topics. But there are certain things that prompt teachers to consider how they can use literature. So this book is designed to intentionally use children's literature to address tough topics, because these are topics that are challenging to teach, that take risks in teaching, that are sensitive teaching, but are essential for teaching if we want to help build caring citizens of the world. I read a previous book with Kathy Gould-Lundy, Creating Caring Classrooms. How do we build empathy? How do we build caring and compassion in the classroom? This book's very different because I decided to address topics mostly for elementary, not that they wouldn't touch them for older students, but the literature that I chose is for elementary students. So the tough topics are things that teachers feel that they might have to teach, feel that they should teach, and it might be coming from a need, it might be coming from a curriculum initiative, it might be coming from something that's happened in the classroom, or it might be coming from because they are really engaged or passionate or intrigued by certain literature. So the tough topics include race and diverse cultures, the immigrant and refugee experience, Indigenous identities, the Holocaust, physical and mental challenges, poverty, death, loss, and remembrance, and gender identity, and homophobia, and bullying. And I tie it all together. This was just sort of, we had 9 chapters. Should I add another topic? And I wanted to wrap it up and have a PS to the book. And it's about teaching kindness. We chose the title Ripples of Kindness, which came from a piece of children's literature, a picture book by Jacqueline Woodson called Each Kindness, and the teacher teaches the children how to spread their kindnesses. So that's chapter 10, which means that we still have to address that kindness. And maybe, as my publisher points out, that's the hardest topic, the toughest topic to teach. And the premise of the book is if you're going to teach those topics, choose children's literature. They're going to help you look inside and outside the issue. And so I recommend for each chapter, I recommend children's literature, picture books, fiction, and nonfiction selections. When I became immersed in this topic, I started to collect and read books. And I would say 95% have been on my bookshelves or that I read. And I'm really excited that teachers kept recommending titles for me, so I included them and I sought them out. So the subtitle of the book, How Does Children's Literature Help Us Deepen Student Understanding of Social Justice, Diversity, and Equity? So it's my world of children's literature with an intended purpose, and that's the framework of the book. Good point. Well, there's 2 things I want to point out. One is teachers have to deal with a very busy curriculum, okay? And Kathy Lundy in her book calls it Conquering the Crowded Curriculum. So where in the curriculum do we address things like death and bullying and poverty? Because the curriculum documents don't specifically say, teach the refugee experience. So we have to look at what's happening in our world and how do we help people understand what's going on in the media, in their lives, with the children sitting next to them in their neighborhoods. So I think it's intentional that teachers have to make the choice within their science curriculum and their math curriculum and their arts curriculum. What is the place for me to address a tough topic that I might be nervous about teaching? So I think it's making teachers a deliberate and intentional decision to do it somewhere in their program. And it could be at one level, just reading aloud a picture book and having the students respond, but an in-depth discovery where students start inquiring an issue and sharing their feelings. And that's where we can move into the affective domain in our curriculum, which again is hard to teach and hard to address. So I think this is an invitation for teachers to take small steps. I start with literature quotations in each chapter because children's literature gave me some great insights and springboards into the issues and topics. I have expert voices, so I turn to colleagues in my university who are experts, for example, or authors. I have some authors represented as well, who are experts on certain topics, and invited them to contribute their insights, which provides some theory and provides a perspective of how to address these topics, such as gender equity and such as Indigenous identities. So that gave me not credentials, but I felt more comfortable turning to people who were experts in their fields. I start with an essay too of why, for each chapter, rationale of why we need to address it. And that just comes from my own personal experiences, my work in the classroom. Then I move into the language. What are some of the vocabulary? What are some of the terms that we need to know to address the top topic? So what does the word race mean? What does equity mean? What does diversity mean to students? So in each chapter, that's another springboard or framework to address the topic. I then move into launching or igniting the topic. What is, I like, we would call that in our lesson plan, a minds-on activity. How am I going to introduce this to the students? So there's some strategies and suggested lessons for doing those experiences, to set the base, to build inquiry, and to activate prior knowledge and experience. And from there, I have two model lessons. I'm addressing both primary and junior. Another bonus is I do the range of literature. So there's poetry, there's picture book, there's novel, there's nonfiction and script. So again, I want to demonstrate how we can approach it with different resources that I provide, with many reproducible masters that teachers can use. So those are two model lessons with authentic experience. And in each of those lessons, I provide instructional strategies to build comprehension, to build interaction. And so that takes it again from my world of teaching literature. How do I use these? Well, I'm giving suggestions of how to approach it. The way it works is teachers can dip into the lesson, they can dip into the vocabulary, but at least it invites them to think about how can I teach differently? How can I teach better? How can I take a risk and show that it really matters to my students? So it's just an invitation to look at your classroom library, your school library, and the community library, and say, wow, this book's going to give me lots of mileage to help my students be more caring, more compassionate, and promote understanding of social justice, diversity, and equity. So it's just an invitation to consider in their repertoire of teaching the literature that they can find that help them to be what I think is a bit better teaching. Okay, intentional teaching. When we come to write a book, we think about the acknowledgements, and I do acknowledge the teachers who helped me. And it was a good chance for me to dedicate this book to my mentor, David Booth, who passed away last year. And I'm very pleased that my editor and publisher gave me a separate page to honor David. So I do dedicate this book. And I took a quotation from his mantra of teaching. David wrote a book called What is a Good Teacher with Richard Coles. And I worked alongside David for many years. And David has said, you get to be good by being with others who want to be good. It's a belief that I believe in, and I think this book is about being good, spreading those ripples of kindness, and surrounding yourself with others who want to be good. And those others could be the kids sitting in front of you. So thank you, David.